This is you. You grew up in a trailer at the edge of a town so small it doesn't have a stoplight, only a rusted water tower nobody's climbed since the paint peeled off. Your father wasn't a criminal. He was a pharmacist, or he almost was 3 semesters short of his license before the plant that funded his scholarship shut down and swallowed his future with it. He never stopped being one in his head, though. Every night, at the kitchen table, under a bulb, just like this one, he'd mix things, harmless things, baking soda volcanoes, sugar crystals, dye experiments for you to watch. His eyes lit up like a kid's. He kept a notebook, leather-bound, stained with 100 spills where he wrote formulas he'd never get to use in a real lab. When he died, heart, not drama, just a body giving out too early, that notebook was the only thing of his you kept. You don't have his voice recorded anywhere. You have his handwriting. You try to be good with it. You take chemistry classes at the community college 2 towns over, paying in crumpled bills you earn stocking shelves at 4 a.m. You're good. Better than good. Your professor tells you that you have real instincts, that you see reactions the way some people see music, but tuition doesn't care about instincts. 1 semester in your short $400, and the financial aid office gives you the kind of smile that means no. You walk out clutching your father's notebook like it's the only proof you were ever meant for something more than a registered drawer. That night, a man named Delgado finds you outside the diner. He's seen you mixing cleaning chemicals behind the counter to make a stronger degreaser just for fun, just because you couldn't help yourself. He says he knows people who pay real money for hands like yours. You should say no. You say yes, because $400 might as well be $4 million. And because for 1 second, someone looked at your gift and called it valuable instead of strange. What you don't know is that Delgado isn't a recruiter. He's a broker. And brokers don't get paid for finding employees. They get paid for finding disposable ones. The compound is 2 hours off any road with a name hidden behind a defunct citrus farm. The moment the van doors open, 3 men with rifles walk you past a chain-link fence topped with wire, and you understand all at once that the $400 was never the real price. The man who runs the lab is called El Padre, though he's no one's father. He doesn't yell. He doesn't have to. He tells you calmly that the last chemist who didn't perform is still under the citrus trees, feeding the roots. Then he hands you a beaker and asks you to prove your professor right. You do, because the alternative is the citrus trees. The first cook is the worst night of your life. Your hands shake so badly you almost drop a flask of something that would have taken the roof off. But somewhere in the middle of the process, something old and familiar clicks into place. Your father's handwriting, his ratios, his patience, and your hands stop shaking. You produce a batch cleaner than anything the compound has seen in months. El Padre doesn't smile. He simply says, "Again," and walks away. You realize that excellence here doesn't earn freedom. It just raises the price of your leash. You're not alone in the lab. There's Bishop, an ex-military medic who lost his license for reasons he never explains, who treats every wound in the compound like it's the only thing keeping his hands from forgetting how to heal instead of hurt. There's Nadia, sharp-eyed and silent, who used to run numbers for a bookie before the bookie sold her debt to worse people. She's the only one who can talk their way past a checkpoint without a single bead of sweat. And there's Milo, barely 20, who hums old radio songs under his breath while he works. The only sound in that place that doesn't sound like fear. They become your family the way people become family in a fire, not by choice, but because you're the only ones who understand what it's like to be burning together. At night, in the bunkhouse, you trade the only currency that means anything in a place like this. Stories of who you were before. Bishop wanted to open a clinic in his hometown. Nadia wanted to buy her mother a house with a yard. Milo just wants to hear his song on the radio one time, for real, not hummed. You tell them about the notebook, about your father. about wanting someday to run a real lab, legal, clean, boring in the most beautiful way possible. Months pass in a blur of fumes and fluorescent light. Your formulas get more efficient. Yields go up. El Padre starts trusting you with the harder synthesis, the kind that requires precursor chemicals smuggled through 3 countries, the kind that, if you get the temperature wrong by 2 degrees, turns the lab into a crater. You become, without ever wanting the title, the best cook the organization has ever had. Buyers start asking for your batch by a nickname you never chose. Chalk, because your product is so pure it comes out the color of new chalk instead of the usual yellow-brown filth everyone else produces. The recognition should feel like nothing. Instead, some small, sick part of you feels proud, and that terrifies you more than El Padre ever could. One humid night, Milo doesn't show up for the cook. You find him behind the bunkhouse, a duffel bag at his feet, a bus ticket in his shaking hand. He tells you he can't do this anymore, that every batch he touches feels like it's cooking away a piece of his soul along with the chemicals. He's found a way out, a cousin 2 states over, a job washing dishes that pays nothing but doesn't require anyone to die. He asks you to come with him. For one long, breathless second, you almost say yes. Then you hear boots on gravel. It's not El Padre. It's 2 of the guards, drawn by the sound of an unscheduled conversation after curfew. Milo's bag is right there. The ticket is right there. There's no version of this where they don't understand exactly what they're looking at. You do the only thing you can think to do. You step in front of Milo and tell the guards he couldn't sleep, that you were showing him a shortcut for the extraction process, that the bag is yours, full of spare glassware. Your voice doesn't shake. You've learned, in this place, how to lie the way you learned to cook under threat of the trees. The guards buy it, barely, and walk away with a warning. Milo doesn't run that night. You've bought him 1 more week of life, and you don't yet know that it's the only gift you'll ever get to give him. A week later, El Padre calls a meeting in broad daylight, which never happens. Broad daylight means someone's about to learn a lesson in front of an audience. He has Milo's bus ticket in his hand, found, this time in a place you couldn't cover for. He asks the compound calmly what happens to workers who try to leave. He doesn't ask Milo to answer. He asks you because everyone knows chalk is the only one El Padre respects enough to make suffer through a choice instead of a bullet. He hands you a pistol and tells you that Milo dies either by your hand, quickly, mercifully, or by the machete crew's hands, slowly, as a lesson to everyone else. Milo looks at you, and there's no anger in his face, only that same tired, hopeful softness from every night he hummed his song in the lab. He tells you it's okay. He tells you to hum the tune for him just once so it's the last thing he hears instead of the machetes. Your hands, steady enough to synthesize a compound that could level a city block, shake for the first time since your first night in this place. You raise the gun. You hum 4 notes of a song you barely remember the words to. You pull the trigger. The silence afterward is the loudest sound you've ever heard. Something in you goes quiet after that, the way a machine goes quiet when a part inside it finally breaks instead of bending. You keep cooking because the trees are still there, and so is Bishop, and so is Nadia, and leaving them behind feels like another version of the same betrayal. But you stop taking pride in the purity of your batches. You start thinking, for the first time in months, about the notebook. Still hidden under your bunk, its pages soft from handling. You start thinking about what your father would say if he knew his ratios had built an empire of exactly the kind of poison he spent his life trying to prevent people from needing. The break comes from an unlikely place. A shipment gets seized 2 states over, a rival cartel's doing, a message sent in the language this world understands. El Padre, convinced there's a rat in the compound, starts making people disappear based on nothing but suspicion. Bishop is next on a list you weren't supposed to see. Nadia finds you at 3 a.m., her usual calm gone, and tells you there's a narrow window. A supply run tomorrow, 1 truck, minimal guards, and if the 3 of you don't take it, there won't be a 4th chance. You think of Milo's bus ticket. You think of how close he came. You decide that this time, the exit isn't going to be a hope you talk someone out of. It's going to be a plan. Nadia's the one who gets you through the gate. She spent months learning the guard schedules the way she used to learn a bookie's ledgers, and she knows exactly which 15 minutes belong to a shift change nobody bothers to double-check. Bishop, who's patched up every guard in the compound at some point, knows which one owes him a debt too large to refuse a blind eye. You handle the truck itself. Under the floor panel, a compartment you built months ago during a routine repair, disguised as a fuel line, exactly wide enough for 3 people to fold themselves into if they're desperate enough. Tonight, you are. The truck rolls out past the fence at 4 a.m., precursor chemicals stacked in crates above your heads. Your future folded into a space built for spare parts. For 11 miles, you don't breathe louder than you have to. You almost make it. At the county line, a checkpoint that shouldn't exist tonight does. El Padre's paranoia has him running extra patrols on every route out. The driver, one of the compound's own men, unaware of his cargo, gets waved through easily enough. But behind you, through a gap in the floor panel, you see headlights. Not the checkpoints. Following. Someone radioed ahead. Someone always radios ahead. The truck driver, panicking, guns it. The chemicals above you slosh and hiss in their crates. One cracked seal from becoming a bomb instead of a shipment. Bishop braces Nadia against the compartment wall. You press your palm flat against a crate to keep it from tipping, praying to a god you stop talking to somewhere around the citrus trees. The truck swerves hard right, then left, tires screaming against asphalt. Gunfire hits the trailer. 3 for shots, punching through metal like paper. 1 round misses your skull by the width of a finger. The driver takes a bullet through the shoulder and loses control for half a second. Just long enough for the truck to clip a guardrail and fishtail across 2 lanes. Nadia forces the compartment open from the inside, climbs through crates of chemicals that could kill all 3 of you if they mix wrong, and hauls herself into the cab. She's driven getaway before. She takes the wheel from a man too busy bleeding to argue. Nadia drives like the compound's ledgers taught her, calculating risk in real time, cutting through a construction detour that the pursuing car doesn't expect, buying you 4 seconds that feel like 4 hours. Bishop, blood-slick hands from patching the driver's shoulder, tells you to hold on. You do. The pursuing car clips your rear bumper once, twice, and on the 3rd hit, Nadia cuts the wheel hard into an underpass, killing the headlights, vanishing into shadow the way Milo once vanished into a plan that almost worked. For nearly a mile, there's nothing behind you. You let yourself believe, for the length of that mile, that this is how it ends, clean, quiet, alive. Then the fuel line, the same hidden compartment that saved your lives, sparks against a cracked chemical drum thrown loose in the chaos of the crash. You smell it before you see it. The sharp, familiar bite of a reaction going wrong. A smell you know better than your own name because you've spent 2 years learning exactly what it means. You have 3 seconds, maybe 4, before the whole truck goes up. You don't think about the notebook. You don't think about your father, or the clean legal lab you always dreamed of running. You think about Milo's 4 hummed notes, and you understand, with a clarity that feels almost like peace, exactly what you have to do. You scream at Nadia to pull over. She does, tires biting gravel at the highway's edge. You shove Bishop out first, then Nadia, both of them tumbling into the dark brush along the shoulder, both of them screaming your name as you turn back toward the cab. Toward the driver, still slumped and bleeding, still trapped, still a person even after everything he's been part of. You drag him free by the collar with strength you didn't know you had left, and the 2 of you clear the door just as the drum ruptures fully behind you. The blast throws you both into the dirt, heat rolling over your back like a wave breaking on a shore made of asphalt. When you look up, ears ringing, the truck is a pillar of orange light against the dark, and somewhere behind you, Nadia and Bishop are running toward the sound of your name, alive, and so, impossibly, are you. You don't go back for the notebook. It burned with the truck, along with every formula, every ratio, every trace of the person El Padre turned you into. And somehow, standing on that shoulder as the sun comes up over a road that finally leads somewhere new, you don't mourn it the way you thought you would. You realize your father never needed the notebook to be who he was. He just needed to want something honest badly enough to keep trying. You don't know yet what happens next. Whether the driver you saved will turn on you the moment he's healed. Whether El Padre's reach extends past this county line. Whether the 4 of you make it to whatever comes after this. But for the first time since a broker named Delgado found you outside a diner, you're not walking toward a lab. You're walking toward a sunrise, empty-handed. And it's the lightest you've felt in 2 years.